What's up, everyone? Thanks for coming back. This is another episode of GearHead Garage. Today we are in the bike shop, as you can see. Needed to do a little bike shop update. Had some bikes here I'm working on. Want to show you what I got going on here. Also wanted to do a quick rundown of some of my bikes because you're going to see them in the background. So figure I'd go over some of my own bike collection. So let's kind of get into it. First bike here on the rack. That is my 1971 Schwin Racer. Had a buddy actually pull this out of the trash, basically. Somebody was junking it. It was originally green, and the original wheels that it had on it were actually rusted through, completely through the wheels. So the frame was quite rusty too, so I actually stripped all the original green paint off of it and clear coated everything, so it's just kind of like a nice bare metal finish with still some little bit of patina here and there. You can kind of see like on the fork, but it's all clear coated and everything, all nice. Still got the original stem on it, put some different bars on because the original bars were actually rotted through as well. Wheels, I went with a factory size 26 1 3/8 steel wheel. I wanted to keep it steel, but on the rear what I did is I put a Nexus internal 3-speed on it. So this is actually a 3-speed bike now. Bottom bracket is upgraded. Instead of a one-piece bottom bracket, it now has an adapter to run a sealed cartridge style bottom bracket, and it's got like an Origin 8 crank set on it for like, you know, like a fixie or something, and some decent Origin 8 pedals. Brooks accessories on this guy. It's got the leather ring grips. It's also got the aged leather saddle with the lace on the bottom, and it also has the Brooks saddlebag. So all the fun, nice Brooks accessories on it. It's a really nice riding bike. I don't really get out on it too often anymore, but every now and then. Next one here is probably the one I ride the most now. This is a Raleigh Technium Grand Prix. This was another one that somebody kind of saved from the trash for me. When I got it here, it was all original, real dusty and dirty, and original everything on it, so it definitely needed some love. But once I got it stripped down, I noticed just how nice this bike is. The paint on it is immaculate. There's like 2 or 3 little scuffs on this bike, and that's about it. But this thing is like mint condition. So originally what I did is I just kind of cleaned it up, rewrapped the bars, put some new tires on it, and cables and brake pads, and you know, all the consumable stuff, and just kind of rode it stock as is. But over the past couple years I've kind of made some little changes on it. So overall here, so kind of get into some of the changes. Obviously the wheels are different. These are actually just kind of like a cheap quote unquote carbon wheel set, but I like them. They were, I think, about $350 for the set, and they're not bad at all. I was kind of expecting the hubs to be garbage and kind of almost planning to replace the hubs immediately after buying it, but they've been pretty good. Gator skin tires, 725. This is a carbon fork. I did the little custom paint detail to match the factory fork, which is right here. See, it kind of has the pink and silver chevrons on it. So I kind of replicated that on the new carbon fork. As far as the crankset, that is the original crankset on this original front derailleur. The rear, it does still have the down tube shifters. Still rocking the old school down tube shifters, but switched up from a 6-speed to a 7-speed. And then I eventually switched it to an 8-speed. Once I put these wheels on it. So this is a 8-speed cassette. I'm running a like more modern Claris rear derailleur here, just like an HG 71 chain. I got these Origin 8 one-sided clip-in pedals, so I can ride this with regular shoes, or I have SPD cleat compatible shoes I ride with it sometimes. Stem and handlebars. Since I put the carbon fork on, I switched this up to a threadless headset. It's got an FSA headset. Carbon bars. I also switched out the original brake calipers to a vintage old Tegra setup. And the saddle is a Cell Anatomica with the relief cut. Probably one of my favorite saddles. I love these things. I used to be all about the Brooks saddles, but once I got this, I was like, this is it. So this is the bike I probably ride the most. And that's a 90 Raleigh Technium Grand Prix. Next one in line here. This is actually one of my girlfriend's bikes. This is a Trek 1100 that was given to me. It was originally a road bike. You can see now it has touring bars on it. It's been through a couple changes. She wasn't really super comfortable with the road bike bars. It was kind of a stretch for her to reach the brakes with her hands. She has smaller hands. So ended up switching it up, running the touring bars more recently. I also ditched the original down tube shifters that it had and went to a rapid fire shifter setup. So she likes it a lot. It still has the 725s on it, so still low rolling resistance, but overall just a really nice bike. I actually ride it sometimes because we do have the toe peak rack on the back for the bag, and sometimes if I'm riding somewhere where I want to bring a couple beers with me, I'll actually ride this bike. So it still rides really, really fast. Still got the road bike speed, but just a lot more comfortable. Next to it here is a Raleigh Dash Plus, like a early 90s bike. Just kind of like a comfort bike. This one was rescued out of like an old garage. Again, another rescue bike. This one's pretty much all original besides the tires and the seat and grips. But this was what my girlfriend used to ride when we first started riding, so she got the Trek and can now go a lot faster. So this bike doesn't really get ridden much, so might end up selling this if I can find somebody that wants it, but we'll see about that one. Next one here is one of my first, one of the bikes I've had the longest besides the Schwin, actually, at this point. This is I want to say it's a 2017 Fuji Traverse 1.1. This was last year they did the 1.1. Pretty much all original besides saddle, and I had the clip-in pedals on here, but I took them off, put them on my air bike for now. And it's got a cat-eye computer on it as well. But yeah, pretty much all original. The one nice thing about this bike is that it is a Dior XT 10x3 drivetrain, so a 30 speed. And the other nice thing I like about this is the remote lockout on the handlebars here. It's a pretty nice little setup, so you can lock and unlock the fork right from the handlebars. I actually switched this out. I gotta still tighten that up. I realize I haven't ridden it since I installed this, but it's got the remote lockout there. Next one here is another old rescue bike that I kind of built up for my mom many years ago, and she never rode it. So this is, if I can get it to focus here a little bit, or a little bit in the dark side of the bike shop here. It's an old Sears Roebuck Free Spirit 3-speed, basically fully restored by myself. I took everything apart, rebuilt it all, shined up all the original chrome and all that. So that thing just sits here. That's another one I need to get rid of if I can find someone to buy it. And then the same thing with the last one here. That was another rescued bike. This is a Hoffman Aves BMX bike. My buddy actually rescued this out of the trash, put like a tube in it and fixed it up. I had to fix the headset on it, but that's basically it for that one. So yeah, the one I really ride the most here is the Raleigh Technium Grand Prix. That's really the one I get the most miles on. So let's get into some of the bikes I've been working on. So first off, I have this really old cruiser here, and it's kind of a piece, but got it fixed up for a buddy of mine. So when it came in, had the original rear wheel on it, and it did the old fun thing where you could pedal it backwards all the way around, and you could also pedal it forwards all the way around without the wheel actually moving anywhere. So After trying to fix the coaster brake hub with some parts I had, they weren't quite right because it had a very old school style coaster brake internals in it. So I didn't have the right parts to rebuild it. So ended up putting a new steel wheel on it and new chain. Ended up rebuilding the bottom bracket bearings because they were dry as hell, and put this funky prostate saver seat on it and some new grips, and it rides really good. The air bike he brought in needed quite a bit more work. Brought in this Univega Grand Sprint. I forget which year this is. I think it's like an 87, I want to say. 86 or 87. This is originally it's a road bike, which is what it was when he brought it in. You can see his original wheels and tires behind it. So what we did was, he's not really big into like the whole road bike thing, and I figured the down tube shifters would be a little much for him because he mostly rides cruisers, but he wanted something he could drive, ride a little quicker and do some more miles on. Wouldn't have to be going like 8 miles an hour on his cruiser. So built him up this guy. So we decided to make it a little bit more comfortable and a little bit easier to ride by putting touring bars on it, adjustable stem. I basically took this thing down to the bare frame and kind of redid everything on it. So redid the headset, redid the bottom bracket bearing, still has the original bottom bracket in it, just took it out, cleaned it up. Still has the original crank and front derailleur on it. Put on some more modern pedals because it had the old rat traps on there. So these are the wheels that I used to have on my Raleigh Technium Grand Prix. So I ended up giving them to him because it already had the 7-speed setup on it. And I also gave him my old 7-speed rear derailleur that works really nicely. Since we switched to the touring bars, we put these rapid fire shifters on it with the brake levers. So just ran new cables and housings on it. These tires were already on these wheels, so he got these barely used gator skins as well. So overall, really nice build on this thing. It rides really nice. The gearing's good on it. A lot of speed on this one. So we'll get to a bike that dropped off the other day here. This one here had a customer hit me up, say they had a friend that needed a bike worked on. So I was like, all right, drop it off. So he dropped it off. He's like, hey, it's outside. Work on it whenever. I'm like, okay. Went and grabbed it, and this is what I found. So if you're not familiar, this is a quote-unquote GMC Denali road bike. Basically, this is a road bike that big box stores sold using the GMC Denali name. And basically, they're hot garbage. So I want to say this thing was probably about 120 bucks about 20 years ago. And obviously they market it as a quote-unquote road bike, but I haven't seen too many road bikes with dirt cheap grip shifters on it. So you can kind of see the quality of the rest of the bike kind of follows suit. Just stamped steel bottom of the barrel derailleur, like just total garbage. And this thing is one of these bikes that was very bad when it was new, and now that it's been like sitting outside and corroding and lack of maintenance, it's just, there's nothing I can really do with this. So I got the scoop from the customer. So this actually belongs to one of his co-workers, and so he's a hardworking guy, uses this for transportation, so he just wanted to do something nice for him. So I told him, I was like, well, if you wanted to, I'm like, I could do like tubes and tires. Obviously the whoops, I dropped my phone here. Obviously the tires are really dry rotted. That was like his main concern. He's like, I think it needs tubes and tires and whatever else you think it needs. So obviously I could do tubes and tires. Needs like a full tune up. Basically, look how freaking disgusting the drivetrain is on this thing. Chain is completely stretched. Bottom bracket bearings are loose and dry. Front wheel bearings are very rough and crackly, and the shifters barely work. Probably needs cables and housings, not to mention the fact that the bar tape is falling off everywhere. So overall, I told him, I was like, look, I could do the repairs that you want me to do, but it's still going to be a piece of junk bike. And even if I do like just the basic repairs, like a tune-up, tires, tubes, and a chain, just the bare minimum. I'm not even worried about the bar tape that's falling off and the fact that the cables probably need to be replaced and all that stuff. But even if I do all that, it's gonna probably be about $200, even if I get like the cheapest tires I can, and it's still not gonna be very good. So I was like, well, what I can do, after I got the full scoop for him and heard he was just trying to do something nice for one of his coworkers, is I was like, look, I could probably do is on Facebook Marketplace, and I can probably find something for about 150, 200 bucks what you were gonna spend on this one for repairs, and I could probably find a way nicer bike for that, you know. So 150 bucks, $200, you can find like a good bike shop quality used bike on there. It might need a little bit of work, but I was like, look, I was like, what's your budget here, you know, basically. So he's like, I like to try to be like 150 to 200. So I was like, okay, I think that's doable. So went on Facebook Marketplace last night, found a decent looking Cannondale, with some good components on it. It's kind of more like a flat bar road bike, but it's a good quality bike. So that's the big thing, and it looks like it's in decent shape. Might need like a chain and some other stuff. So I figure if I go pick that up for about 150 bucks, put a chain on it, and just clean it up, I could basically make them a really nice bike for $200. And now, this is not something I'm really gonna make money on. Like I said, his budget's like 200 bucks. If I buy this bike for 150, I put a chain on it, I might break even on it. I'll probably end up losing money, but you know, it's something that the guy wants to do. He's doing somebody a favor, so I would like to try to do him a favor. So try to make everybody happy, you know. And this is something I find that I end up doing a lot. I don't know if I'm just too nice, but I often pass up making money for, you know, trying to help somebody. So not something that makes me any money, but you know, it just feels good to help out sometimes when there's somebody who's down on their luck or needs a helping hand, you know, and try to help them out too if I can. So we'll see. So tonight I'm going to meet this guy to try to buy this Cannondale, and we'll see how it turns out. If all goes well, should be able to get it for about 150 bucks. Give it a quick cleanup, quick tune-up, just make sure everything's adjusted okay. I'm not going to go too crazy on it, so. But just making sure everything works. Like I said, it looks like it might need a new chain, so probably slap a new chain on it. But other than that, I think it'll work out for the guy. So when I get really cheap, like Walmart bikes in like this, I usually don't work on them. Just usually because they're usually in condition like this where they're like 20 years old and they were garbage when they were new. So at this point, being left outside and not maintained, now they're super garbage. And like I said, I could always just do the repairs he wants, but he's gonna put $200 into this bike just to get it half decent, and it's still not gonna be very good. Still not gonna ride very good, and it's just not worth the money. The bike is worth, I don't know, scrap value basically at this point. So I don't like people putting that kind of money into a bike that's worthless. You know, it's one thing with this old Univega that I just built. Like, now that's a pretty nice bike. Like, it doesn't have like high-end components on it, but it's a really nice bike. It cleaned up really well. It's a solid bike, and it's got some like decent stuff on it now, and it's a really comfortable, good riding bike. It's totally gone through. All the bearings have been rebuilt, so that's a good bike that I feel okay the guy putting a couple $100 into. But this bike, not so much. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. So yeah, so maybe next week I'll give an update on how this situation turned out. We still got two cars to go over. Like I said before, we might do them at the same time because there's not too much to really tell on either one of them. But yeah, we'll see what we got going on next week, and hope to see you guys then. Later.